Distinguished delegates, colleagues, it is my honor to welcome you to this side event on the serious issues of democracy backsliding and human rights violations in Azerbaijan. My name is Sofia Kerizova. I'm the co-founder of Institute for Human Rights. As we approach COP29, set to take place this November in Baku, we are at a key moment where the fight against climate change intersects with the need to protect basic human rights. COP29 will be a major event in global climate talks, bringing together world leaders to find solutions to one of the greatest challenges. However, it's important to recognize the broader situation in Azerbaijan, where these discussions will take place. This event is especially important because many OSCE member states will send delegations to COP29 and a number of our human rights defenders will attend. It is crucial to raise international awareness about the current situation in Azerbaijan, where media freedom is limited, civil society faces pressure, and those who speak out are often silenced. We cannot effectively tackle the climate crisis without also addressing the human rights abuses happening in the host country. Today's discussion aims to bring attention to these challenges and call for global cooperation for supporting democracy, human rights, and sustainability. Let me present you our esteemed panelists for today, Mr. Emin Husseinov, a founding member of the Climate Observers Partnership, and Ms. Diana Nazarets, member of the Climate Observers Partnership. With this being said, let me pass the floor to Ms. Diana Nazarets.
Thank you. We welcome you today to our discussion, and it goes without saying that Azerbaijan is a highly repressive regime, and the number of political prisoners has been increasing sharply since the end of 2023. But the event that kind of shattered the human rights world was the arrest of our colleague Anar Mammadli, a prominent human rights defender and a leader of the country's independent election watchdog, Election Monitoring and Democracy Studies Center. He was the founding member of the COP29 Climate of Justice Initiative, a coalition of 5 local NGOs established in Baku. So they were based, local, as it was a local Azerbaijan initiative. And they wanted to leverage COP29 as a facilitator of positive change for their own country. And I presented his initiative at the Human Rights House Foundation side event during 55th Human Rights Council session in Geneva. And shortly after his arrival in Baku, he was accused of money smuggling, the same charges that many journalists, independent journalists and human rights defenders face in Azerbaijan. He was detained shortly after his arrival. The Climate Justice Initiative that kind of was left without its key member and like a leading partner, it was forced to terminate its activities. And in mid-June this year, they issued a press release, and I quote, "The pressure of representatives of free media and independent civil society is still ongoing. Offices are closing and community activists are leaving the country. In such situation, the activity of civil society is impossible." With this being said, the initiative, the local-based initiative in Azerbaijan was closed, and I knew that it was the only one that was trying to use the COP to raise awareness and what's going on with the human rights situation in Baku. And we decided to take an action. We decided that it is time to act swiftly and establish a coalition in exile where it's more safe and it's not that exposed to the government of Azerbaijan. So that is how our partnership occurred. Our coalition is called Climate Observers Partnership, a coalition of civil society organizations dedicated to promote respect for human rights and inclusive climate action in Azerbaijan through creating the COP29 campaign. It was created in response of the ongoing crackdown on the increasing number of political prisoners, and we're using this initiative while Azerbaijan is still in the spotlight of the international community. Yeah, if you can. I guess I needed help of technician because if okay. Something's wrong with the presentation, so anyways I'll be proceeding. Can you try again? Great. Yep. Yeah, so our partnership established COP29 campaign. It is an awareness raising campaign launched to address and bring global attention to the widespread human rights violation in Azerbaijan, aiming to shed the light on the systematic issues, advocate for justice, and mobilize international support for the affected individuals and communities. We have 5 key objectives of our campaigns, highlighting human rights violations that are ongoing. The situation just decreasing, and Amin will give you a more broad perspective on the human rights issues in Azerbaijan. Ensuring media freedom. The media freedom is one of the key elements when we want to have an inclusive discussion at COP29, and as far as we know, the media environment is highly restrictive in Azerbaijan, and the current legislation and the ongoing intimidation practices of the current government, they hinder the ability of journalists to present to report on the event, to report on the ongoing violations. And basically now we observe that there is kind of an information vacuum that occurred around Azerbaijan, and the issues, the internal issues are not that highlighted in the international area. The next objective is promoting environmental activism. Environmental activism is not that developed in Azerbaijan, also because the government is tightening its grip and is controlling all the critics, including those who may challenge the climate and environmental policies of the government. Filling the information vacuum, as I already told, when communicating with the international NGOs and OECD, United Nations, Council of Europe member states, we can observe that the delegations are not that aware of the real situation on the ground in Azerbaijan because of the whitewashing that is happening on a very high level in Azerbaijan. And one of our key objective is to fill in that gap and present the things that they really are, because the Baku is about to host up to 80,000 people, and these people need to know where they're going, what threats they may face or may not, and what threats are facing the real people of Azerbaijan. And then one of the most one is supporting the right holders, supporting the local Azerbaijani people. They are underrepresented, and we can tell it even considering today's event, like our human rights conference. We see that there are not a lot of people able to travel from Azerbaijan, actually, because of the restrictions imposed by the government. The land borders are still closed, airfare tickets are very expensive for the community, and most of the activists, they are under travel ban. So if even you want to try to get out, and if you want to shed the light on the human rights situation in your country, you want to be here in person, you cannot leave the country because of the travel ban, because you are unwanted by the government, and you just don't want to be seen and don't want to be spoken to with the decision makers. So that is why we established our coalition. That's why we initiated our campaign. We need your support in promoting it, and that's I will show you how you can do it. You can do it by signing and joining our petition. The petition calls for the immediate release of all political prisoners, prisoners of conscience, and protection of civic freedoms. It highlighted the deteriorating human rights situation at COP29, which risks undermining the credibility of the climate conference. The petition urges Azerbaijan to uphold international obligations, protect civil society, and ensure open participation in climate discussions. It appeals to the global community to take action against ongoing violation. And basically that is how it's done very easily. You can scan the QR code, read the whole text of petition, and then sign it. We urge you to do it, and we urge you to just get acquainted with the petition itself. Share it with your colleagues, share it with your delegation members, and we require support. We believe that it's the pressure, it's the pressing issue right now for Azerbaijan civil society. That is the event of one of a lifetime opportunity to actually make a change. And for this, we do require the support of international community. What we ask you to do in addition is when traveling to Baku or talking to the delegation that are about to travel to Baku, we urge you to highlight that UNFCCC subsidiary body during the Bonn meeting, they implemented, and let me quote, that all the climate change conference shall be convened in places where all participants are effectively protected against any violations or abuses. And with this being said, we urge you to pass it to your delegation that are about to attend COP29 to highlight this issue and directly talk to the COP29 presidency, to COP29 organizers, that it is not being done in Azerbaijan. It's not being implemented, and people are afraid to speak out. They are targeted and they're intimidated. And when participating in Baku, please do raise the issue of the plight of Azerbaijani civil society. I think I will stop here and pass the floor to the moderator.
I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Ms. Diana Azet for her invaluable and insightful contribution to this discourse. With that, I would like to now pass the floor to Mr. Emin Hussein.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Emin Hussein. I'm Azerbaijani human rights defender. Last 9 years I'm living in exile in Switzerland, but still continue to work on Azerbaijan because situation in my country for the last 30 years of existence of this ruling regime negatively change every day. And today we have, as my colleague mentioned, more than 300 civil society and political opposition members, politically motivated and arbitrarily detained people in Azerbaijan prison, and this is like only the number which is with limited resources we're able to count with Azerbaijan civil society organization. Probably this number will be more higher if we're able to analyze all potential cases. But since Azerbaijan hosted and the host country status conferred in Dubai last year, the numbers of the political prisoners increased from 100 up to 300 political prisoners, and usually we never have this kind of negative trend for at least for the last 20 years. I try to remind for Azerbaijan as Council of Europe member states since 2001. Last time we have 700 political prisoners, and it's one of the part of the deal between the Council of Europe and Azerbaijan for if country not release all of these arbitrarily detained people until 2001, Azerbaijan never able to join to the Council of Europe, and that just shows the political will, and they release all of these people. But unfortunately today we didn't see any kind of political will from international stakeholders like the United Nations. They decide to to granted host country status for Azerbaijan, and we started to criticize these steps immediately, but we also get excuses from international community for its only several candidates like Bulgaria, Azerbaijan and Armenia were supposed to be like a shortcut to, and since Bulgaria blocked by Russia and Armenia gave up and supported Azerbaijani candidacy, international community don't have any other choice to select Azerbaijan. Otherwise, COP29 is supposed to be hosted again in Dubai, which is international stakeholders find counterproductive, and because many people who is attended to the COP28 criticize the organizers for the same kind of repressions against the civil society, for using COP for signing new contracts for oil and gas industry for the United Arab Emirates, and just like using this event for greenwash authoritarian states, what's happened, like for example, in Egypt during COP27 and in United Arab Emirates during the COP28. So Azerbaijan elected, and we start to try step by step raise awareness around this problem. We start to negotiate with our partner, with the states, and after 11 months, what we have today, we have a very dramatic situation. I think today I'm able to say for international community already looking to the COP29 as like hopeless COP ever during existence of this climate change conference. And no one had any clear response what's supposed to be done until COP29 and what we need to do after COP29, because we know for government of Azerbaijan preparing massive repressions right after COP29, and this is not affected with their plans to make some kind of vendetta against the civil societies representatives who raise their voices and expose lack of democracy, lack of accountability, and lack of fundamental freedoms in Azerbaijan. We believe Azerbaijani government has some plans, maybe after COP29, still until today, peaceful agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan not signed, and all expert communities clearly saying for maybe war started right after. But in perspective of the civil society, I think today, even still 37 days until COP29, we need to mobilize our resources, even small resources. We know for since Azerbaijan already managed to organize all events, and in October they have a pre-COP conference in Baku, and in November 11 COP29 started and continued until November 21. We believe we need to raise awareness and use each day an hour to communicate with the stakeholders, especially with the international media, with international civil society institutions, mobilize our resources, and call for Azerbaijani government at least to release all our colleagues. This is our main role, because even as Diana mentioned, like today, since March 2020, Azerbaijani president decided to close land border, and using the COVID-19 reason for this. Just a week ago, President Aliyev, during his meeting with the parliamentarians in Azerbaijan, he said for landing borders supposed to stay closed. How long he didn't respond, but he said until foreign threats exist against Azerbaijan. He's mentioned for it, we need to mobilize our law enforcement agencies, we need to start to fight with betrayers, etc., etc. And when sometimes say betrayers, is looking to us, to civil society representatives operated in Azerbaijan, and present conditions, and for us who are living in exile. And week after Alif's speech, we have already one victim. With that is Iskandarli. It's a human rights activist and political dissident who lived in Mulhouse in exile. And 3 unknown persons attacked him on September 29th at his house with 21 knife cuts, and he died in the hospital after 2 days. And until today, French police and investigative institutions not able to respond to our questions who is responsible. But we strongly believe for Azerbaijani government have some kind of connection with this murder, political murder. And this is first case of attack of a quite famous outspoken voice in exile. And we are afraid for after COP29, at least will be continue to punish our colleagues who continue to criticize him from exile. And imagine what he doing with people in exile, what he able to do with people in Azerbaijan jail. I just like to understand level of his mercy. I just want to say, for recently he's arrested disabled rights defender Famil Khalilev, who is have a cerebral paralysis, and they arrested this guy with drug selling accusations. Imagine like it's very clear for a person right now dying in the hospital, prison hospital. He started hunger strike, but zero mercy level. We still didn't see any kind of positive hopes for even this person able to release. What we have, just what's happened, small success happened only with one of our colleague economist and anti-corruption fighter, Gulbadi Bandoğlu. After long campaign when all international communities advocate for his release because he have a very bad health conditions, government of Azerbaijan ahead Petersburg climate change conference in Berlin this May decided to change his detention or pretrial detention for the house arrest. And now even this colleague not able to leave the country and join to his family. He lives, most of his family members living abroad in exile, and he's not able to get like adequate medical health. But except Gulbadi Bandoğlu, all other colleagues right now, they are staying in prison. Some of them received life threats. Even like our colleagues Ulvi Hasanli, like the prison administrations start to terrorize people and saying if you not compromise, we will do some provocation, and even if we're able to use sexual violence against you in the prison. So a huge level of impunity against crime of civil society activists. No one punished, like institutions like we don't have independent justice in system in Azerbaijan. All courts controlled by the presidential administration. We have parliament, which is totally controlled by president administrations. And imagine, during the last 11 years, Azerbaijan organized two snap presidential elections, and which is happening in February, and another one last parliamentary elections, which is Azerbaijan organized in September 1st. None of Azerbaijani oppositional candidates able to participate freely in these elections, and today we're able to say we legitimate executive power and legislative power in Azerbaijan not exist. According to the recent OEC audit observation mission, both of this mission make quite clear observation reports for both elections, and they say for these elections not applicable with free and fair election standards, which is mean for us again. This unlegitimate government, president and parliament, supposed to use this COP29 and coming 29 for increase their international legitimacy. That's only one reason why Azerbaijan government spent the years and advertise their like a green transition. When I leave, tried to say, well, we need a divide ruling party based make on our ruling party second green party. Imagine we hear such kind of the messages from the government officials. They say for Azerbaijan already successfully moving to green transition, and since they get this host country status, they forget about all of its promises. Right now, during this 11 months, at least 6 times they've mentioned for we need to increase our oil and gas contracts. We need to make more sustainable fossil fuel industry for Azerbaijan, and he's saying this without any shame on International Climate Change Conference. Even with Olaf Scholz, when he had a joint press conference in Berlin, he said very clearly for God give us gift as like oil and gas, and we need to use this gift successfully for Azerbaijan people. And when he say for Azerbaijan people, he's thinking about himself, because for all $250 billion what Azerbaijan received for the last 20 years from oil and gas export, let's say for half of this amount stolen by Azerbaijani kleptocratic regimes, and today it's accumulated in the Western jurisdictions. And that's what we have. And we would like to ask you, because many of our colleagues also doing some campaigns, we appreciate of all your efforts. I would like to remind for another monthly campaign, like Justice of Climate campaign. They decided to close campaign in Azerbaijan, and some exile-based colleagues helped them to transfer this campaign to Free Anar campaign, and now they also do some boxing campaigns to release Anar and other famous prisoners of conscience. We would like to make everything is possible for all of these 319 political prisoners, but we understand realities, and we understand we need to first prioritize, call for these human rights defenders, environmental activists, female activists, and environmental journalists. And we believe if head of the states, especially head of the democratic states, at least European Union members, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, USA, and other head of the democratic states who are planning to go to Azerbaijan, if each of head of the states decide to call for at least for one prisoner of conscience, might be do something until COP29. But if international community continue to use this silent diplomacy, we believe nothing would be happening. And again, COP29 today is the event which is technically some of our colleagues say for maybe it's better to call for making boycott. From the first day we believe the boycott is not effective. It's like even COP27 and 28 existed, and it's problematical countries. But in the end, what I would like to express my little bit frustrations for international community, I think, after COP27 and 28, they didn't do the same kind of, they didn't show the same kind of solidarity, what they showed, especially solidarity with the Egyptian civil society and with civil society of United Arab Emirates. Like, I know it's completely different countries, maybe the international community more focused on the problems with the Middle East, and Egypt is quite priority country for the international community, but same situation happened in United Arab Emirates, and after Egypt, what we observed is less of attention for human rights problems, even in this, during the COP28, because why we mentioned COP28, because today it's part of responsibility staying also on the United Arab Emirates, because when country hosted COP, for the next year country taking obligations to be president of the COP. And COP29 story not finished for Azerbaijan on November this year. Let's say second part of the honeymoon for Aliyev started right after in November and will continue until COP30 in Brazil. If until COP29 in November, Aliyev hosted all of these heads of the states in Azerbaijan, and they planning to host like more than 150 heads of the states and the government during this first week, high-level summit weeks. For him, it can be clear warranties for the next 7 years of existence after his 5 presidential terms, which started from February this year. Aliyev will be able to say to all international community, look guys, you are coming to Azerbaijan, you are making handshake with me. I'm a legitimate president in international perspective. For internal community, it will also clearly say, look, everyone came to Azerbaijan, even Aliyev denied to go to UN Summit of the Future, which has happened the last week in New York, when all global leaders attended, even President Biden and even Iranian President Erdogan and Nikol Pashinyan and Georgian Prime Minister attended, and Zelensky attended. Aliyev decided to not go there because, as like Oriental ruler, he has the mentality: it's better if the leaders come to me, and I don't need to go to them. Like they want to be like a king of the world in this November. And our call to everyone who is going to meet with this king, just try to remind him for the world is too small, and just try to show him for everyone who has violated humanitarian law and human rights law, sooner or later must be punished. And we believe for sooner or later all of these perpetrators who tortured our colleagues, murdered our colleagues, will be responsible. We don't know when it's happened, but we believe we need to continue to fight for our freedoms, and we call for solidarity for all of you to show your also contributions and don't give up. Even like, as I said, like some donors even give up. They said, why we need to think about COP29, but we also always try to remind them, look guys, all of your grantees are arrested in Azerbaijan. How do you, looking forward, what do you think, how they're supposed to operate? And imagine like some kind of donors in EU, they supported campaign in Egypt. Like, but Azerbaijan part of the Council of Europe, Azerbaijan member of the OEC, and Azerbaijan member of the European political community. European donors, which is like, they say we don't want to support Azerbaijan civil society effort because we believe COP29 is hopeless. It's not about climate change, not about climate justice. And all of us, we know this. We're saying for Ali don't care about climate justice and all of his goals, which is he's announced for the upcoming COP. Let's make more inclusive COP for everyone. It's not true. And when I say for let's fight for climate finance transparency, it's also not true, because like the Azerbaijani government is a government which has the most highest kleptocratic rate in the world according to Transparency International. And imagine right now, Aliyev tried to teach the world how they need to effectively use climate finance for loss and damages. That's it. Like I try to finish here. Again, we believe for everyone who's supposed to go to Baku and have his accreditation as like a media or admitted NGO, if you're able to successfully enter to the country, please feel free to do and raise at least awareness inside the blue zone when you are quite safe. We're not calling for you put your to additional risk. If you're able to do also some kind of fact-funding missions, try to do, but we're not able to respond right now which kind of risk you can have it. But we believe in the blue zone, Azerbaijani government not able to stop you, and unfortunately, even if we ask UNFCCC for opportunities to organize a side event regarding the Human Rights Abuses Act of 29, still we don't get any kind of confirmation because Azerbaijani government said they are not able to provide lots of space for the United Nations. But we still didn't receive also clear rejections from our requests. Now we have only one competitor from Azerbaijan. It's like NGO named like IDEA, International Dialogue for Environmental Action, and head of this NGO is daughter of the President of Azerbaijan. They are also waiting for getting the slot for organizing side event on the topics child rights and climate change. And this NGO's leader, Leyla Alieva, she's head of the all biggest commercial entities, especially in agriculture industry, which is used like child laborers on the cotton plantations. And imagine this NGO want to host like an event during the COP29. But we understand political realities, for maybe they can grant them one slot for this kind of side event, and we believe if they granted them one slot, they must grant also one slot for us. And if we have this slot, we would like to invite all interested parties from the civil society to take a part on this side event. In Azerbaijan, personally for myself, I'm not able to go there. Maybe my colleagues able to attend. But I'm living in exile and I'm stateless person because government deprived my citizenship. But still, we believe we able to use these opportunities not only until November. We need to think together how we need to continue this COP29 campaign until COP30 in Brazil. And even if in Azerbaijan we underrepresented, because from Azerbaijan, imagine from 3,500 admitted NGOs with UNFCCC, it's only as one Azerbaijan NGO who has a status, it's IDEA, organizations founded by the daughters of President of Azerbaijan, Leyla Alieva. We're waiting also we also submit application for getting the status, and maybe for the COP30 closer to this, we can have it our own and we're able to more freely discuss and give 27 days until COP29 and think what we can do for the next 1 year when Azerbaijan presidency will be started and continued until November 2025. I would like to stop here and
Thank you, Mr. Amin Husseina, for your insightful and comprehensive remarks. At this point, I would like to open the floor to our audience for questions and further discussion. Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much for your introductions. My name is Harry Hummel. I have a couple of very practical questions. Assume I go to Baku. Well, no, there will be thousands of civil society representatives going to Baku. There will be thousands of diplomats from presumably sympathetic to civil society states. They can go to this side event that you mentioned if it happens. They can, but what about other suggestions? Would it be possible to make, well, these buttons maybe are too big, but like smaller pins that indicate, that are a symbol of the importance of civil society freedom in the fight against climate change and more generally for human rights, and to distribute these to diplomats and civil society representatives before they go. Would it be possible to make a little guide of Baku for people who want to take a walk, and maybe they could go to symbolically interesting places, like places where people are imprisoned at the moment, for political reasons, or places where in the past important assemblies have taken place, like a little guide that people can use without having an actual guide on the spot, but still, I think this could be interesting, and maybe we could suggest to leave a flower at a certain place that has symbolic value. I don't know about Azerbaijani culture, but I'm sure there are things that you can think of. These type of, I think it merits to try to think about these type of ideas, to raise the general issue of civil society repression and suppression of human rights in the context of 29.
Well, thank you for your questions and recommendation, Harry. Yes, it's a very good idea. For example, it's possible to visit it, for example, in place of the famous murder at 2005 journalists, investigative journalists, and Hussein. For example, sometimes when foreign diplomats, they're coming to Azerbaijan, they're going for the flower and show their solidarity with this person. There, the cemetery based quite in the center, city center, and we observe such kind of solidarity actions. It's also possible to going together and make a photo in front of the retrial detention center when all of our colleagues right now based. It's possible to go and visit some of our colleagues who is under house arrest and under travel ban, speak with them, show them so that they are not forgotten by the colleagues. That is very important. So it's possible to do some other solidarity actions. We're happy to exchange our visions, if you want, after this meeting, but yeah, I think it's quite practical.
Yeah, and I also wanted to just add a few comments. First of all, thanks for showing that extent of solidarity to the Azerbaijani human rights defenders. There are some negotiations behind the symbolic that can be presented in the discussion, like during the discussion, because the UNFCCC Secretariat, they were cautious about all of the pins and symbolics because they are like prohibited by the UN rules. So we are considering it, and we are talking to some people who are more aware of what we can and cannot do in the blue zone. I know there was a precedent with our Egyptian colleagues when they decided to wear all white on one day of the conference to show solidarity with the political prisoners of Egypt. So this is to be confirmed and to be discussed further, and definitely we will notify via our website about the initiatives that's going to happen, but it's made much closer to the date, not to hinder anything.
And I think one of the practical steps will be if all NGOs with admitted status who have accreditation, they can do press conference during the blue zone, because according to FCCC, they're able to request, each NGO able to request one slot for the press conference for 30 minutes. And imagine 3,500 NGOs. Of course, not all of them like human rights oriented NGOs, but let's say if only 10% of them ask like slots for the press conference, and during this press conference speak up about each politically motivated cases, it's quite be helpful. And then it's like they should not limit themselves. What I've observed personally during the SB60 climate change conference in Bonn this July, we asked like dozens of NGOs for guys, could you help us to book the slots for the press conference? And imagine from these 3,000 NGOs, only 15 NGOs organize press briefings, and some of them they're mentioning problem with the civil society. And when we ask for guys, what is like, you don't book the room for your own, could we use your slots? They say for clearly us, but we are afraid if we, during the SB60 in Bonn Climate Change Conference, we provide too much support for you, it can be generated additional risk for us. Even until today, some of NGOs are afraid to sign a petition, and they say, we would like to join to your petition right after we successfully return back to our homes from Baku, because they are still have also huge level of paranoia for them, can go and they somehow punish there. And we are okay with this petition able to international NGOs or local NGOs or individuals able to join to these petitions during the presidency of Azerbaijan in the COP for the next 1 year as well. And we try to just increase the solidarity level and to show for no one forgotten, and we should act together.
Are there any more questions? Please.
Stefania Koleś from Polish Institute of International Affairs. I'm currently dealing with the issue of revival of Karabakh and the occupied territories. And there is a lot of information regarding green transformation there, and I wanted to ask you about your perception of those acts of the government. Is it a real green transformation, or as you said, it's just greenwashing? I mean, you said something like this in reference to general politics of state authorities. And also I wanted to ask you about the human rights situation regarding this particular area and reconstruction works, because there are also some information that's not going where it's supposed to go. Thank you.
So regarding the green transition, I would like to be clear, it's not even only the deliberated territory, all green transition cases which has been analyzed for the last 5 years. This is green washing, but in perspective of money laundering. For example, what I started to do, if before to stealing money and accumulate there directly in the European jurisdictions can be easy, right now it's more and more difficult. What they start to do, they start to bring this money from European banks, put them temporarily to the Middle East jurisdictions like Dubai, mix this money for United Arab Emirates and Middle East political and economic elite, bring this money back to Azerbaijan as a foreign investment, invest this money to the green wind and solar energy sources. They started generating this green energy. Another part of the investment from these stolen assets goes to the creating of data centers. These data centers created with the stolen money and for green needs issues, connected for these green energy resources. Imagine you have a green energy from wind and solar. You have a hardware, and you mobilize them. They build clusters and these IT cities. They start to use half of them for blockchain's needs. They start to generate cryptocurrencies. Another half of these regional data centers, since war started in Ukraine and before, after Crimean invasion, when all global IT leaders they start to change their data centers from Russia to Azerbaijan. And imagine, like today, Alif laundered his money. All of Alif's family members, they're beneficial owners of these foreign investing companies who's accumulated money for the green transition. They start to get clean cash. And when they're going back to the European banks with this money, they say, we are successful business women because we successfully invest to green economy. We have a green, and money coming from Meta, Oracle, Apple, Google, Alphabet, and other IT industries who need day by day more and more regional data center facilities. They paid them $100 million for renting this slot. And no one talking about this, but Alif talking about the green transition. That's how the green transition works. He literally built new green landromat on this. And he only is also understands the future of Azerbaijan, not supposed to always depend on with oil and gas. And now all of the Central Asian dictators, they also start to think about how they need to collaborate. They're already building this Trans-Caspian electric cable. Kazakh, Turkmen and Uzbek leaders, they're already thinking how to build these infrastructures and send this green energy to Europe. And believe me or not, we believe for this green energy and green transition will be increased political existence chances for these authoritarian rulers in the world. That's what they understand for oil and gas era supposed to sooner or later be done, and they need to keep them safe for the future. That's what they start to use. And related with human rights issues, if, let's say, majority of Azerbaijani population living under concentration camp conditions, sometimes people ask what is like the situation human rights with Karabakh or with minority. I think it's the same what we have in all region. No matter you are minority or majority of population, you have the same problem. We all of us, like half of, like let's say, hundreds of our colleagues living in the small prisons, and 10 million population living in big prison, and 2 million of us like living in abroad, like in Russia, and even these people not able to come back to their own country because land borders is closed. That is what we have in the COP29, unfortunately.
Thank you. Any more questions? Please.
Just a quick question, Sebastian Perus, Research Center at George Washington University. I was wondering how independent CSOs in Azerbaijan are funded. I mean, are they able to receive foreign fundings? And, or, I mean, to what extent is the government of Azerbaijan imagine controlling or restricting those foreign fundings as we see, for example, in Central Asia or many other places?
Let me take that question briefly comment on it. So the foreign funding is prohibited anywhere else, and basically if you receive foreign funding, you will be then charged with money laundering, with money smuggling, with drug trafficking, or whatever. So they can stage any charges against you because you are implementing the foreign funding grant, and that is basically the main reason of all of our colleagues, journalists, human rights defenders, researchers, scientists. That's why they are in prison, because they are implementing the foreign funding. So they are cutting off any opportunities for the local CSOs to get funded.
So regarding the one thing regarding funding, I would like to say for even exile-based community, which is especially recently left Azerbaijan civil society representative, now they have like serious problem with lack of funding. For organization like us, we always have a lack of funding for the last 10 years, and we somehow adapted for this kind of difficulties for exile life. But for people who just recently left Azerbaijan, we are a little bit shocked for international donor community not ready with a rapid response for these people. Imagine they are literally paralyzed. Aliyev successfully destroyed civil society because he several times mentioned it. I understand if I'm able to cut finance for the civil society and kill them all. And now, after all of this crackdown, like the international donor communities, they are literally close all Azerbaijani programs for the country-based civil society and exile-based civil society. That is like even ahead go, they don't have a clear response to us. And when even we ask them questions, they don't able to respond, but we find response for this. And today at 2 o'clock in this room, we have a very unique speaker from USA, from National Whistleblowers Center, Steve Cohen, and he will present how the civil society institutions able to use US law first to punish kleptocrats, freeze their assets, punish the international financial institution who help them, punish them financially via US Treasury Department and other federal agencies, and get compensations for institutions, for the whistleblowers, and everything according to the law. And we believe that this is kind of financial resources, what current US law able to provide for us, much more sustainable in perspective for existence for the civil society for the long term vision. That's why we'd like to invite all of you to join us today to this event, and we will be here, and Steve is here, is our, and you will be enjoying, I will tell you. Definitely you need to be there if you want to increase your capacity with funding opportunities to punish dictators, because dictators only understand when you're able to punish them. And our biggest mistake for the human rights community, what we do for the last, I'm on this business and like non-profit activities for 22 years, we repeated the same activities, and Aliyev sometimes arrested the same people for the first and third terms. Nothing changed. It's like a revolving door. And this repression machine able to change when it's able to significantly damage them. And damage will be successful when you damage them with significant financial amount. And when you make them super toxic, when no one from international financial institutions able to cooperate with them. So we would like to invite you, all of you, at 2 o'clock to this, 2:30 to this room. And we have great presentations, and we distribute the books, Steven's books here. And we can give you lots of practical information. I promise it will be best side event during this Human Dimension conference. I thank you, and sorry for the little bit hopeless pictures about COP29, but we don't give up. We continue to fight for our freedoms, even right after COP, in solidarity with you and all world. I thank you, and I thank you to Sophia to moderate our panel.
With that, I would like to officially conclude today's session. Thank you to our panelists and everyone contributing today. Thank you and take care.
I would like to do one question.
Yeah, please.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, turn off.
Use the mic, use the mic.
I guess now you can hear me. Thank you so much, sir. I joined a little bit late and it was, thanks so much for the information.
And introduce, please.
Yeah, I will introduce. I'm Haqları from Haqları Azərbaycan Association. I'm living in here. So nice to see everyone over here. I have just one question that like we have really strong arguments about child labor and money laundering about going around in Azerbaijan, which is really strong arguments. I'm just curious that do you have any kind of statistics or like any kind of documentation based on that, like we can reach out or we can read and or like so some proofs.
Yeah, Radio Liberty published lots of stories about this with the proof. Journalists visited the regions, make the interviews in the school, speak with the child and their parents, and I can send you all of these links and references later after our meeting. And about money laundering, I can send it hundreds of proofs for you.
But what these documents are like, how can I say that? Is part what I don't understand. For example, like in a official way, like it is proven or like not made.
Yeah, of course it's proven by the international investigative journalist community.
Okay. So I'm like.
We appreciate for your questions and thanks for joining us. We have to leave the room and happy to see you. Bye bye. See you at 2:30.